up, everybody? Matt Maran here for a little Mustang update here on this Tuesday. It's been an interesting couple of weeks in the Mustangs. That's why I figured I'd do a little update for you guys. So I've been putting a lot of miles on it here in the past couple of weeks, and I'm now back to daily driving it once again. I just still love driving this thing so much. It's a ton of fun. But anyway, I actually did 2 trips back and forth to Maryland for various reasons here over the past couple of weeks, and so I put about 1,000 miles additional on the car, just straight up highway miles, and it was mostly an all good experience. There's an interesting thing, as you might have guessed from the title of this video, and that is that I got a check engine light. On my first trip back from Maryland, I went to the Wappa Rally where you guys saw all those quick drive videos that I filmed and posted, and on the drive home from that, I had just started the drive. I had finished driving all these cars all day, and I hop in the Mustang, started up, and 5 minutes into my drive home of my 4-hour drive or so, 4.5 hours, the check engine light comes on, like 5 minutes into my drive, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? The car drove totally normal, everything was totally fine. It was just a solid check engine light that just came on. There wasn't any kind of urgency or flashing lights or anything like that, but I was just like, I really don't want to drive 4.5 hours home, like wondering what is going on with my engine. And again, it was totally normal. And so I had to stop to get a bite to eat, and so I stopped, and actually one of you comment on Instagram, because I was like, I guess I'll just, whenever I get home, I'll just take it to the dealer, or I'll take it to, Advanced Auto Parts or something, have someone read the code, because I don't have a code reader, because I've never had an issue with the GT. The EcoBoost, was always a little sketchy, and I had my access port where I could check codes on that, but I've since gotten rid of that, and so for the GT, never had any issues that I ever needed a code reader. I mean, the car only has 19,000 miles. I didn't think, it would be something that would be necessary, especially on a stock car. But anyway, one of you on Instagram suggested, as I was sitting there eating, they're like, why don't you take it to Advanced Auto Parts near where you're at, so you don't have to, be wondering for the next 4 hours what's going on with your engine. I was like, that's a really good idea. And it just so happened, it's kind of a crazy thing, there was an Advanced Auto Parts 0.2 miles away from the Chick-fil-A I was eating at currently. And so I just drove straight over there and pulled up and walked in and said, I need to, get a code read. I got a check engine light. And the guy at the counter, surprisingly enough, was a fan. He's like, holy crap, what are you doing here? And was like so shocked that I just happened to waltz into the Advanced Auto Parts he worked at, and he was able to meet me and get a picture and all that kind of stuff. So there was some good that came out of this somewhat hectic experience for a brief amount of time. So they ran their test and printed out and said that the code was an evap issue. It didn't say what specifically, but thanks my buddy Humble Mechanic and a few others who commented and said evap is no issue whatsoever. You can totally drive home, no problem, and I knew, the car was driving totally fine, so I wasn't super concerned, but it was still just, you don't like looking at a check engine light not knowing why it's there. That gave me the peace of mind. I was able to drive home. The car drove home flawlessly. I didn't even take it easy. I was flying on the way home. It was totally fine. And so I took it to the dealership a few days later, and they did their diagnostic tests. And here it happens that the purge valve was sticking. And so the purge valve, I think, is part of the evap system, of course. I think with getting out some of the fumes from the fuel lines or something. I'm not totally sure. I'm not a mechanic. I'll leave that to my mechanic buddies to explain for you guys. But anyway, it was just sticking, and apparently this is a known issue with the GTs. It's not super common, but I did search the forums, and there was a few other people that had a similar thing. It's a super easy thing. Like, it's literally right on top of the front of the engine there, and they just swap it, pull the one valve, put a new one in, and after about an hour and a half or so of sitting at the dealership, I was back on the road again. No issues whatsoever. So that's why I titled this video the best check engine light ever, because of all the things to go wrong, with the check engine light, what it could potentially be, for that to be it, and, the car be totally drivable, totally fine, and it be something that really doesn't make much of a difference, honestly, is just really good. And so, although my confidence was a little shaken in the GT's reliability after that light came on, I was quickly reassured these things are solid, and so it's nothing to worry about, and a very, very minor thing. So it's like, the EcoBoost, I had all these stresses and all these worries, and I was nervous after seeing the check engine, like, oh no, I don't want this car to also make me paranoid. And thankfully, it's just a very minor thing. These things are pretty rock solid reliability-wise, the 5 liters. That's one of the reasons why I love this engine so much, is it's got such a long proven track record of being super reliable. I mean, that dude in blue just crossed 100,000 miles, and his is even supercharged with way more power on his 5 liter, and no issues whatsoever. It's really, these motors are impressive, and Ford did a great job. So yes, of all the check engine lights to get, I think this is the best possible check engine light I could have ever gotten. And so yeah, a good little learning experience, and I wanted to pass it along to you guys. So if any of you ever happen to have something similar happen, where you get a check engine light but your car is perfectly driving normally, not to worry too much. It might just be that, because that is something that tends to go every once in a while on these, it seems. But yeah, so that's basically it. Otherwise, I'm at 19,400 miles now. I'll be getting another oil change here around 20,000 miles. And yeah, otherwise, the car's been driving great. I absolutely still adore this thing. Yeah, so anyway, just wanted to give you guys that little update. Let me know if any of you have ever experienced this issue with your 5 liters. And anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.